CBS News, and I am very, very pleased to welcome the cast and crew of Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods has been a staple on TV for years, but what's really been happening when the cameras aren't rolling? In this video, we're breaking down 12 facts behind the scenes that aren't just interesting, they're genuinely surprising. From cast exits that blindsided even the stars, to decisions that nearly changed the show's entire identity, this list will challenge what you thought you knew about the series. One entry, in particular, sparked outrage from a national organization. Curious? You should be. Let's pull back the curtain on Blue Bloods like never before. 12. A cast member was controversially fired. One of the most unexpected moments in Blue Bloods history came when Amy Carlson, who played Linda Reagan, was abruptly removed from the show after Season 7. Her character's death was revealed off-screen in the Season 8 premiere as a tragic helicopter crash. This narrative choice left many viewers stunned, especially because there was no lead-up or on-screen closure for such a significant character. Linda had been an essential part of the Reagan family dynamic, and her sudden absence raised immediate questions. The decision to slay off Linda Reagan sparked strong reactions not only from fans, but also from within the cast. Donnie Wahlberg, who plays her on-screen husband Danny Reagan, publicly expressed shock and disappointment at Carlson's exit. The lack of an emotional farewell or funeral scene made the character's departure feel abrupt and impersonal. Many fans took to social media, voicing frustration over the handling of the storyline and demanding clarity from the show's producers. In later interviews, Amy Carlson was able to affirm that she hadn't made the choice to leave the series. She confirmed that she had not been invited back and that no real discussions had happened about any possible exit arc for Linda. Apparently, the lack of communication left Carlson blindsided, as she would have wanted a more meaningful, expected, and respectful conclusion to her character's story. Her openness about it only provoked the audience and reignited debates about how long-running shows manage cast changes. Creative reasons or internal conflicts behind the scenes may have driven this decision. In any case, Amy Carlson's firing has featured among the most hotly debated behind-the-scenes events in Blue Bloods history. It emphasized the emotional bonding fans develop with characters and the important way characters exist in long-running dramas. Producers will largely be silent about the specifics, owing only to general statements about it, and others to storyline direction. This might seem controversial, but the next one takes it even further. 11. A former NYPD detective normally edits the scripts. One of the key factors behind Blue Bloods' reputation for realism is the direct involvement of a former NYPD detective in the script editing process. James Nuciforo, a retired member of the force, plays a critical role in shaping the show's dialogue and scenarios to accurately reflect real-life police work. Before any episode goes into production, Nuciforo thoroughly reviews the scripts and often returns them with several pages of detailed notes. These edits are not just minor tweaks. They frequently include significant changes to dialogue, procedures, and terminology to better mirror how actual officers think and speak. Nuciforo's input ensures that the show's portrayal of law enforcement feels authentic to both professionals and viewers. While many TV dramas rely on general assumptions or dramatized interpretations, Blue Bloods benefits from a layer of expertise that most procedural series lack. His additions often include NYPD-specific jargon, procedural accuracy, and situational nuance that add depth to even minor scenes. This attention to detail has not gone unnoticed. Many current and former police officers have praised the show for its respectful and knowledgeable depiction of the job. Essentially, Nuciforo serves as a link between the writer's room and the real-life world of policing. His suggestion is that they balance the two, one where great television is made and one where it seems operationally believable. In interviews, Nuciforo has described the process as very collaborative, noting that writers frequently accept his suggestions and corrections. That way, what one can get is entertainment without watering down the product even as it fights to tread the narrowest of lines between what is grounded and what is flashy. Can such authenticity be one factor that the show has kept the audience going for almost 12 years? Nuciforo's unwavering influence contributes to that mix, even if it is just one among many things that have made the series popular. He anchors that fictional world against the realities of policing, while it gives viewers a dramatized experience that still feels very real.
10. Danny Reagan's sons are brothers in real life. A lesser-known but fascinating fact about Blue Bloods
Is that the young actors who played Danny Reagan's sons, Jack and Sean, are actual brothers off-screen. Andrew and Tony Terracchiano have been part of the show since its early seasons, with Tony portraying Jack and Andrew playing Sean. This real-life sibling connection brings a natural chemistry to their scenes, making the family dynamics portrayed on screen feel more grounded and believable. Viewers familiar with the show have likely noticed the ease and comfort between the two, a dynamic that's hard to fake. The Terracchiano brothers began their roles at a young age and have essentially grown up in front of the audience. As their characters evolved, so did their performances, maturing with each season. Their presence contributes to the long-running show's central theme, a multi-generational family involved in law enforcement. While their roles may be secondary to the main storyline, the consistent portrayal of Jack and Sean provides a sense of continuity and realism that benefits the broader narrative. Initially, the casting choice might have been thought to be practical. In this case, however, their relationship beyond the screen has become beneficial. The sibling bond gives a degree of emotional resonance in scenes that concern any family issue, from school trouble to a light-hearted dinner table chat. The casting of real family members in such recurring roles is indeed rare for a scripted series, and this choice is paying off now with the connection the audience feels and the authenticity of the scenes. Could their real-life relationship have influenced how their characters were written or developed through the years? Probably one of the biggest unanswered questions for the fans. One thing, however, is for sure Andrew and Tony Terracchiano bring much more than just acting skills. That family bond truly enhances the series' emotional depth, reinforcing the central theme of family above all. 9. Filming was almost moved to Toronto. During its early production stages, Blue Bloods faced a significant logistical challenge that could have altered the tone and authenticity of the series. Due to the high cost of filming in New York City, including expenses tied to permits, labor, and location rentals, there was serious consideration given to moving the entire production to Toronto. This wouldn't have been unprecedented. Numerous shows set in U.S. cities have filmed in Canada to reduce costs, leveraging Toronto's versatile cityscape and generous tax incentives. However, relocating Blue Bloods would have meant sacrificing a major element of its identity. The show isn't just set in New York. It relies heavily on the atmosphere, architecture, and culture of the city to ground its storytelling. Key scenes often use recognizable landmarks and neighborhoods, adding realism and familiarity for viewers. A move to Toronto, though financially advantageous, risked making the show feel visually inconsistent or disconnected from its core setting. As a matter of fact, the production chose wisely to shoot the series in New York, since it is believed that the local government made commitments for inspiring creative priorities alongside its own film tax incentives of New York State to lessen the financial load. It is worth mentioning that such a decision must have involved sacrifices elsewhere within the budget. But in the end, it kept intact the visual and narrative integrity of the show. Today's fans did not know how close the series came to a profoundly different look and feeling. Keeping production in one of the world's most expensive cities for filming was probably a risk. Looking back, however, it has distinguished Blue Bloods in a busy genre. After all, New York City is much more than a background setting. It is part of the character of the show. Had the move to Toronto gone ahead, perhaps Blue Bloods wouldn't have reached the same audience loyalty or longevity it enjoys today. 8. Tom Celich was the original Thomas Magnum. Before taking on the role of NYPD Commissioner Frank Reagan, Tom Celich had already established himself as a major television icon through his portrayal of Thomas Magnum in the hit series Magnum P.I. The show aired from 1980 to 1988 and featured Celich as a laid-back private investigator navigating life in Hawaii. With his trademark mustache, easy charisma, and a Ferrari at his side, Celich's Magnum became one of the most recognizable characters of that decade. The role brought him widespread fame and earned him an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series in 1984. The success of Magnum P.I. turned Celich into a household name and created a public image that he would carry into later roles. Even though the character of Magnum was very different from Frank Reagan, both figures represent forms of justice, one as a private investigator and the other as a police commissioner. Celich's credibility as a leading man in a law enforcement-themed series had already been well established by the time Blue Bloods premiered in 2010. For many viewers, seeing him in a leadership role again only added to the show's appeal. Celich is wont to emphasizing how Magnum P.I. serves primarily as a career platform while also being largely educational, in that it has allowed him to experience principal involvement once in his life and come across the long-term endurance aspect of a series such as Blue Bloods. Although the shows differ in their characters and tone, what remains constant over the decades is Celich being able to carry the weight of a series as its anchor. Is it possible that such success back in the day actually influenced the decision to cast Celich in Blue Bloods? That is a possible case. Often, shows prefer proven talent for their lead roles, and Celich, with his involvement at CBS as part of the network, loyalists, and popularity, almost made him an instant choice. His work as Thomas Magnum not only set his career, but might also leave the groundwork for his second major TV legacy as Frank Reagan. 7. Tom Celich almost ditched the mustache. One of Tom Celich's most recognizable features, his mustache, nearly didn't make it onto Blue Bloods. During pre-production for the first season, there were internal discussions about whether the mustache fit the image of NYPD Commissioner Frank Reagan. Some producers reportedly felt it was too tied to Celich's previous roles, particularly his iconic run as Thomas Magnum, and suggested he shave it off to present a more distinguished or updated look for the new character. However, Celich pushed back, viewing it as a signature part of both his appearance and personal brand. Celich's resistance wasn't just about personal style, it was about continuity with the public's expectations. For decades, audiences had come to associate him with a certain look, and removing the mustache might have undercut his credibility as a strong, commanding figure. Rather than give in to pressure, he made the case that the mustache was not a gimmick, but a part of his screen identity that added authenticity to his characters. Ultimately, CBS supported his stance, allowing him to keep it, which has since become a defining visual trait of Frank Reagan. Keeping the mustache was most advantageous for the character's construction. It has aided in distinguishing Frank Reagan from other police commissioner roles on television, instantly making him recognizable. For the camera, the mustache echoed Reagan's old-school values, his sense of tradition, and his strong-willed character. It adds further to the perception of a character molded by decades of public service, experience, and a certain no-nonsense attitude towards leadership, all of which Celich ever so typically embodies. Altering such a well-known feature of a television legend, was it risky? Probably. A small detail may influence the audience's connection with the character. In this case, the mere decision to keep the mustache ensured the actor's identity remained intact, and thus the role was grounded in a familiar and credible aesthetic. Today, one can hardly picture Frank Reagan without the mustache. Celich's insistence on retaining the mustache also speaks to his influence behind the scenes. As a veteran actor with decades in the industry, he wasn't just another cast member. He had a voice in shaping how his character would be perceived. His confidence in challenging early creative direction signaled his commitment to authenticity, not just for himself, but for the integrity of the show. This wasn't about vanity. It was about maintaining a visual shorthand for who Frank Reagan is, a symbol of consistency in a world constantly shifting. Interestingly, the mustache has taken on a life of its own among the fan base. It's regularly mentioned in interviews, fan comments, and social media discussions, becoming something of a cult emblem for the show. Some viewers have even joked that the mustache deserves its own billing in the credits. While lighthearted, this attention underscores how small visual cues can become iconic when paired with a long-running character. In the case of Blue Bloods, Celich's mustache didn't just survive scrutiny. It became a quiet yet powerful symbol of the character's identity and staying power. Hold on tight and keep your shock in check. The next one escalates fast. 6. Commissioner Reagan's house is a common location in New York. One of the most iconic visual elements of Blue Bloods is the Reagan family home, where their weekly dinners take place. This house, often featured as Commissioner Frank Reagan's residence, is not a set or CGI backdrop. It's a real home, located at 8070 Harborview Terrace in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Unlike some shows that rely on soundstage replicas, Blue Bloods incorporates the exterior of an actual residential property, giving the show a grounded and authentic feel. The home's traditional brick facade and quiet neighborhood placement make it a fitting backdrop for the multi-generational Reagan family. The use of a real home has contributed to the show's consistent visual identity over the years. The house is often used for establishing shots, especially during scenes involving family gatherings or major life events. While most interior scenes are filmed on a set designed to match the look of the real home, the exterior remains a familiar and recognizable symbol for viewers. Fans passing through the Bay Ridge area can see the house from the street, although it is privately owned and not open for public tours. Surprisingly, they are members of the Maronite Christian community, really the owners of the house, and through the years, they have allowed the production to capture exteriors. Very little is known about any other behind-the-scenes deals, but the continued use of the house indicates that a fruitful working relationship and stability between owners and producers for the show exist. Such long-term location access is unusual in television, in a city that is, after all, as busy and expensive as New York. Can this house itself be considered as a character in the series? Many fans would respond with a definite yes. This house has become a visual anchor for the family, loyalty, and tradition themes that the show espouses. Its presence in the real world enhances a viewer's experience while tying in Blue Bloods to New York City strongly. 5. Len Keru is only 6 years older than Tom Celich. One surprising casting detail in Blue Bloods is the real-life age gap between Len Keru, who plays Henry Reagan, and Tom Celich, who portrays his on-screen son, Frank Reagan. Keru is only 6 years older than Celich, a fact that might catch viewers off guard given the generational dynamic the two characters represent on the show. Henry is depicted as a retired police commissioner and the patriarch of the Reagan family, often offering sage advice to his children and grandchildren. Meanwhile, Frank is shown as being in the prime of his leadership career, leading the NYPD with authority and resolve. Despite the minimal age difference, the show's production team successfully sells the father-son relationship through clever use of makeup, styling, and character behavior. Len Keru's portrayal includes subtle physical and vocal cues that suggest greater age, along with wardrobe choices that lean more traditional and conservative. Makeup artists enhance this impression by adding age-appropriate lines and features, helping to visually separate the two actors in a believable way. The generational difference is justified in all respects, in the script writing and in the performance styles. Henry keeps characterizing himself with references to the past, eras of policing, various traditions, and values as an elder man who has seen quite a lot. He relates to Tom Celich's Frank, based on past traditions, but also plays a more active leadership role, often mediating between the old and the new ways of doing things. Their disparity in terms of thinking, again, helps to bring out the generational structure without being very openly different in physical age. Maybe age was not the main reason for casting, but rather a strong chemistry and experience? Highly plausible. After all, both actors have combined decades of experience in television and on stage, while their mutual respect that grounds both will have the power of creating a convincing family tie through cinematic bounds. A wider age difference would have possibly made the relationship feel normalized. Nevertheless, a talent of storytelling and acting, such as Blue Bloods does, is capable of overcoming such casting quirks without losing viewers' willful suspension of disbelief. The dinner scenes were difficult to shoot. The family dinner scenes in Blue Bloods have become one of the most iconic elements of the show, symbolizing the importance of unity, tradition, and open dialogue within the Reagan family. However, these scenes, while short in the final edit, are among the most time-consuming and challenging to shoot. A single dinner sequence can take up to 5 hours to complete due to the number of cast members involved and the need for extensive camera coverage. Capturing dialogue from multiple characters across several angles requires numerous takes, resets, and continuity checks. One major hurdle is maintaining consistency across takes. The food must look the same on every plate throughout the entire shoot, even if scenes are filmed out of order. This often means resetting the table multiple times and ensuring that actors mimic the same movements, such as cutting food or lifting a glass, to maintain continuity. Additionally, not all the food is eaten. Some actors avoid actually consuming it to prevent bloating or fatigue, especially over a multi-hour shoot. Tom Celich, for instance, is known to butter his bread as a visual action while avoiding too much actual eating. The amusing fact is that the set closely resembles a real dining room. Bright lights, strategically placed cameras restrict natural movement, thus turning on some pressure. With actors seated tightly around the table for long periods, this tiring and repetitive activity in a small space can bring about considerable mental and physical fatigue. In interviews, cast members joked about trying to stay sane during these long sessions. Some laughed a lot between takes, while others found a quiet spot on set to just catch a few minutes of sleep. The struggle, however impossible, was worth it. These scenes became, for the very opposite reason, the emotional center of the show. They offered a rare depiction of a multi-generational family engaged in a meaningful conversation about law, ethics, or even personal growth over a meal. It is an excellence of a type, the consistent depiction of any multi-generational close kin sharing a meal, that very much helps to define the identity of Blue Bloods. 3. The Catholic League protested an episode. In 2014, Blue Bloods became the subject of controversy after airing an episode that drew the attention of the Catholic League, a prominent Catholic civil rights organization. The episode featured a moment where Frank Reagan, played by Tom Celich, remarked that the Catholic Church was a little behind the times on issues like. While the line may have reflected a character's personal viewpoint within a fictional setting, it struck a nerve with some viewers and religious groups, including the Catholic League, who felt it misrepresented church doctrine. What intensified the backlash was that the episode included portrayals of both a gay cardinal and a lesbian nun, characters not often depicted in mainstream network dramas, let alone together in a single storyline. While the show has never been shy about addressing contemporary social issues through its dialogue and plot lines, this particular combination was viewed by some as pushing the boundaries of what was acceptable, especially considering the Reagan family's strong ties to Catholic faith throughout the series. The death of the episode was publicly condemned by the Catholic League, which released statements alleging that the show had disrespected Catholic beliefs and was promoting what they perceived to be a secular or progressive agenda. They questioned what the show was really trying to do, particularly using faith-based characters to provoke cultural discussion. On the other hand, CBS and the production had not claimed to retract or apologize for the episode, nor was there any indication that they would change the storyline because of the protests. From the network's standpoint, it was just another piece of creative expression that strives to represent characters dealing with complex moral issues in modern times. So whether it was a careful pushback designed to unsettle convention, or simply a consequence of the show's need to remain socially relevant, is hard to call. In any case, it is apparent that sometimes Blue Bloods delves into controversial territory. And when it does, it usually invokes strong reactions from groups who feel their beliefs are being misrepresented or undermined, even in the context of fiction. Danny is played by a former popular band member. Before he became known as the tough and often intense detective Danny Reagan on Blue Bloods, Donnie Wahlberg was a teen pop icon. He rose to fame in the late 1980s as one of the founding members of the boy band New Kids on the Block, NKOTB. The group achieved massive success worldwide, with chart-topping hits, sold-out tours, and a strong fan base that still exists today. Wahlberg's transition from music to acting was not an overnight shift, but a gradual evolution that began with smaller roles in films and TV. Wahlberg started taking acting seriously in the 1990s, earning critical praise for roles in films like The Sixth Sense and the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers. These performances showed his range and helped move him away from his pop star image. By the time Blue Bloods premiered in 2010, Wahlberg had already built a reputation as a credible actor, capable of handling complex, dramatic roles. Playing Danny Reagan required a combination of emotional intensity and on-screen authority, traits Wahlberg has consistently delivered. It is interesting to note that Wahlberg's musical background subtly emerges in some of his behind-the-scenes activities. A good sense of timing, stage presence, and the ability to perform even under immense pressure contribute to his well-kept, powerful, and energetic performance in every episode. Though no longer a full-time performer with NKOTB, he occasionally reunites for special appearances or tours with the group. This unique dual career in music and acting has kept Wahlberg in the game and provided him with an incredibly diverse fan base in the process. Could his stint in the limelight as a pop idol have mentally prepared him for the rigors of long-term television work? Quite possibly. The experience of being famous at such an early stage in life must have taught Wahlberg how to deal with public scrutiny. And these skills must have greatly assisted him during those long hours on a high-profile set of Blue Bloods. An extremely rare success story is that of a musician who has reinvented himself with such success in Hollywood over the long haul. Stick around, because number one is about to flip everything you thought you knew. 1. Bridget Moahan, played John Wicks' wife. Before fully establishing her role as Assistant District Attorney Erin Reagan on Blue Bloods, Bridget Moahan had a standout appearance in a very different kind of franchise, John Wick. She played Helen Wick, the late wife of Keanu Reeves' character. Although her screen time was brief, Helen's presence is central to the emotional foundation of the entire series. Her death, revealed in the film's opening scenes, is the catalyst for John Wick's violent return to his former life. Moynihan's role may have been limited in terms of dialogue, but its narrative importance is undeniable. Her portrayal of Helen came primarily through flashbacks and video messages, providing glimpses of the life John Wick had hoped to leave violence behind for. These tender moments helped humanize the lead character and offered viewers a contrast to the brutal world he re-enters. It's worth noting that Moynihan's ability to convey warmth and emotional depth in just a few scenes added a layer of credibility to John's grief, making the revenge-driven plot more grounded. Her presence helped frame the tone of the franchise as something more than just stylized action. For Blue Bloods fans, seeing Moynihan in a huge film franchise like John Wick reminds one that the actress is quite versatile. Whereas her character in Blue Bloods embodies legal logic, strength, and family loyalty, the layered performance Moynihan gave in her brief but significant role in John Wick shows that she can leave a lasting impression even in the smallest of parts. Interestingly, John Wick had its premiere back in 2014 in the early years of Blue Bloods, indicating that Moynihan was working in both television and film simultaneously and at a very high level. Was her casting in John Wick therefore influential in the choice of casting for other projects? That might be hard to measure directly, but it's likely that it sharpened her case of versatility for audiences and casting directors alike. It will also prove how even a little role, if well done, can have an important impact on the biggest story. The John Wick project will always stand as a great example of how nuanced, supporting roles are able to push forward an otherwise action-heavy narrative. Thanks for watching. If any of these behind-the-scenes facts surprised you, hit that like button and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear which one shocked you the most. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives just like this. And if you're still hungry for more, click on the next video on your screen. It's one you won't want to miss.